This is William K. Mert, Mert Witness 1, and what I would like to touch upon today are options. Now, one of the main requirements of the FAPO project, which I'm engaged in the moment, is a lot of travel. And when I travel, I have to have a place to stay and a way of getting around. Now, normally this would entail renting a car, getting a hotel room someplace, or possibly someone that would let me stay there, or figure out some way of getting from one place to another. Now, the problem with this is that I go to different points throughout the country, and this can get rather expensive. Now, in some cases, there are things I need to do other than the FAPO project that I'm able to use the revenue I receive from that operation to pay for my FAPO. The problem comes up, however, that the time that I'm consuming on the paid projects, so to speak, interfere with the amount of time I have to take care of the business of the PayPal project. So this leads me to another option that I checked into a while back. And that option was to obtain an RV and use the RV in my travels to have a place to stay, thus reducing my nightly expenses. Rather than getting a hotel room, then I would either rent space in a campground or I would simply park someplace. There are free options, interstate rest areas, certain chain restaurants like the Cracker Barrel that lets you park for one night behind their facility, and Walmart parking lots. Now, some of these options have become a little bit more difficult as restrictions on camping in rest areas, Walmart cutting down on the allowance of RVs parking in their parking lot, and it just becoming more difficult to find free places to stay. And then comes the third option, and an option that I have been taken advantage of, and that is the use of your car to do ride shares or package delivery. Now, in this subset of options, there are gigs, as they are known, to consider. You have Uber and Lyft, which is your ride share. And with Uber and Lyft, you have an application that you use to sign up and make yourself available as essentially what could be considered a taxi cab. Somebody submits an order for a ride, you accept the gig, you go to the origin where the passenger is, pick the passenger up, take the passenger to their destination, and move on to the next gig. Now, the advantage to rideshare is that everything is done by credit card, so you don't have to worry about having to deal with cash, and sometimes you get tips, and everything is done through a app, so you never see the boss, so to speak, and your money is deposited into your account that you use for the rideshare almost immediately. The disadvantage of rideshare, of course, is dealing with passengers, not knowing if you're going to have anything that day. It's kind of like the law of supply and demand. And the possibility you may get robbed. It's kind of rare in the rideshare business because rideshares don't carry cash. The only thing a thief would want is either what little you have in your wallet or your cell phone or any valuables you may have in the car. And so there's always that risk. And then there's the food delivery. There's the old pizza delivery man where you go to work for a pizza restaurant or other restaurant, and sit around, deliver pizzas in a area and make your revenue this way. Now this is how a lot of people make their money in this occupation, is through one restaurant and the deliveries that you make for that restaurant. Now the advantage of that, of course, is you've got a location and you pretty well know what you're going to make on a daily basis as you get used to the routine. However, there's always competition with other drivers. There's the fact that you're handling a perishable product and you're dealing in some cases with transactions, a time limit, and other factors there, and the possibility that you'll get robbed. For some reason, it seems that it's more frequent for people to get robbed in the pizza delivery business than in any other occupation. It's just one of those things. And then there's the option that I finally settled upon, and that is package delivery. Now, in the old days, you used to have courier companies that would deliver mainly to commercial accounts. You would work for a courier service, you would load your car up, and you would go. There were some problems with that option in the old days in that you dealt with cash, you dealt with having to use a phone or to call a dispatcher, and there was that. The advantage is that you pretty well knew what you were going to make on a daily basis or weekly basis, and you had generally familiar territories that you went into and so forth. The only problem with that is that, again, you are dealing with paychecks and just the slow method of dispatch and the wear and tear in your car, of course. And in all these options up to now, that has been the problem, is wearing out your automobile. And lately there have been some options in the package delivery field, namely Amazon Flex, Walmart delivery services, and delivery services for various big box chains. Now both Amazon and Walmart delivery have territorial delivery systems. In the case of Walmart, for the most part, you're operating out of one store, delivering the goods from that store to the customer, and your dispatch is done through an app, and you pick up your items at the store and take them to the customers. And a majority of the time, the items you deliver are food products, perishables, much like a pizza delivery, but kind of a different way of doing things. You have an app that you use, and so on and so forth. And then there is Amazon Flex. Now, Amazon has distribution hubs throughout the country, and Amazon hubs are where you get your deliveries from when you order online. Now, in the vast majority of the cases, what you deliver with Amazon are what we would call hard goods. This is stuff that's not perishable. It's hard items like DVDs, clothing, shoes, electronics, and the various assortment of things that you can get when you're shopping on Amazon Prime. Now, the big advantage of Amazon is that you're doing everything through an app. There is absolutely no cash transactions. There is an opportunity for tips. It's not as frequent as one might think. You get paid daily or every couple of days. If you specify a specific pay date, you get that pay date, or there are options to get paid more than one time a week. It's, you have to study the app and watch various videos on YouTube and elsewhere to understand how that part of it works. And so that is a very good source of revenue. And there's also the flexibility. Now, an Amazon Flex, which is somewhat different than the Amazon driver, where you see the drivers running around in the big gray trucks, in that you're using your car and you're running through an app. And usually, in most cases, you operate out of a certain distribution center and make your deliveries that way. However, in my search for ways to obtain revenue while on these road trips, I came across several options. I could either work for the center directly, pulling packages and some of the other things that you do inside the warehouse, or the Amazon Flex. And this came about from researching the various channels that discuss full-time camping, full-time car camping, RV camping, and so forth, as a way to obtain revenue while on the road. And so I started looking into Amazon Flex. Now, Amazon Flex has in their system what they call blocks for your runs. And these mean that this means that you would be given a choice of blocks. It's a bidding system that's much like if you're in a union shop and you bid for jobs out of the shop. With Amazon Flex, you're given blocks of time, usually 3 to 4 hours to each block that you bid on. You don't bid on price, you just bid on the route. The price that you're paid is set by Amazon, and it usually translates into $18 to $21 an hour. Sometimes less, sometimes more. But generally it sticks to the $18 an hour model, so that they stand a better chance of getting someone that will take that run. And so if you get the 3 or 4 hour or 5 hour block, it's rare that you get a full day's block, you generally will get anywhere from 1 package to 50, depending on the vehicle. When you sign up for Flex, you let them know the make and model of the vehicle that you're running, so that they can determine how much they're going to give you as far as cubic feet of packaging. It's rare that you get more than your vehicle can carry, unless you have a really small vehicle, and then your options become limited. You then go and deliver the packages according to the manifest. You load them yourself, put them in the order of delivery, scan them, and do all that stuff, and you're on your way. And the beauty of Flex, as I have mentioned, is that you get paid frequently if you complete the block ahead of time. Say you get $100 for 5 hours and you complete it in 3, you still get the $100. So it's an incentive to move bud and get it done. Now, what I found with this method is that I could work an evening shift, say from 5 to midnight, or maybe 5 to 8, or 5 to 10. They usually don't want anybody delivering after 10 o'clock at night. It's rare that they allow that. So that you're done, you get enough rest for the next day, and in my case, I can do my Faithful Project stuff during the day, and go do my Amazon, which gives me the revenue that I need to run, and go from there. Now, I am fortunate in my case as I get Social Security. I do get revenue sometimes on the assigned runs, projects that I have that I get paid for, and so the money that I use for these runs is considered surplus revenue. So, and I can make enough to where I have room and board. Plus, I also have the Faithful Mobile, and the Faithful Mobile is my RV. And I have a good friend of mine that operates a business, and he has a large secure lot where he lets me park my RV for free. And I even have utility hookups, and I have access to free Wi-Fi, even though I don't need it because I usually do everything through my cell phone anyway. But this does allow me to do live streams while on the road. So there's that. And out of the RV, I do my forays out to do my Faithful Project. Now, 80% of my Faithful Project is in a 200 to 300 mile radius of this RV, so I'm able to do my errands that I have, and then have my my revenue that I have from these various gigs to do my runs and get revenue to support what I'm doing. In most cases, this eliminates me the need for a hotel, but it does give me revenue towards the maintenance of the vehicle and food and so forth. And if I happen to need to be away from the RV and stay in a hotel, I can do so because I have adequate reserves to do so. And I can also buy equipment like cameras and mounts and stuff that I may need from time to time without relying on my Social Security income, which is not a whole hell of a lot. Now, say I have to go to a distant city, which would make it impractical for me to go do my run and come back and stay in the RV. Well, there's the option of car camping, and I'll discuss that option at a later time. But what I have found is by using these various gigs, as they like to be called, I am able to go where I want, when I want, and how I want, and earn some money to cover my expenses. And this is a method that is employed by full-time car campers and people that basically either run RVs full-time or maybe part-time, or a lot of people that simply live out of their cars and they derive income that way. And so there's always these alternatives. I'm going to do a revised video on this, specifically on the subject of car camping and so on and so forth, how people accomplish that. But it is this method that I have been doing that allows me to accomplish the mission of the Faithful Project. And so, time for me to get some rest, bid on the next block, and then continue with the faithful. So until then, have a good one. This is William K. Murtaugh, Murt Witness 1 in Faithful Field Operations. Bye.